Hello students and welcome to EPG Pathshala. I'm Dr. Pooja Malhotra from Dyal Singh College, Karnal. Today we are going to talk on module Human Values in Management from the paper Principle and Practices of Management. So students, let us see what we are going to learn from this module. After completing this module, you will be able to understand the concept of human values, understand the importance of human values, and we'll also explain the implications of human values in management by describing the implications of ethical and unethical decision making. So first of all, let me introduce the topic and its importance. The concept of value has been of interest by those who have the quest for knowledge ever since the evolution of humanity. It seems that all deliberate and planned human conduct, whether personal or collective, is influenced by estimates of value or worth of ends to be attained. The problem of valuation is closely associated with the problem of structure of the sciences of human activities and human relation. In the present day market-led economy, material well-being seems to be overtaking all other measures of human performance. In the blind pursuit for economic progress, there are instances where the managers compromise with the human values. This, if not checked at this stage, can lead to a lot of social imbalances. Therefore, there is a need to study and understand them, particularly those who are aspiring to gain knowledge in the field of business. So this module explains the concept of values and their applications in the discipline of management. So human values are the virtues that guide us to take into account the human element when one interacts with other human beings. These are the positive feelings that create bonds of humanity between people. It's both what we expect others to do for us and what we aim to give to other human beings. Human values are the foundation for any viable life within society. They build space for a drive, a movement towards one another, which leads to peace. So human values thus defined are universal. That means they are shared by all human beings, whatever their religion, their nationality, their culture, their personal history. By nature, they induce consideration for others. Human behavior seems to be influenced largely, if not controlled, by consideration expressed in words such as good or bad, right or wrong, admirable or hideous, etc., which show the process of valuation in human activity. It is this fundamental nature of valuation activity associated with choice based on goodness or worthiness that makes the study of value in diverse disciplines. Value has been explored in a wide range of realms such as morality, religion, sociology, art, science, economics, politics, law, and customs. Let's discuss about the evolution of the concept of value. The concept of value has evolved from philosophical study of goodness during the time of Plato and Aristotle to a pragmatic analysis in economics since Adam Smith. In business applications, the concept of value has been retooled at the macro or growth study, as in philosophy and economics to micro level, aiming at
studying its implications at the level of individual firms. Irrespective of the perspective in which the concept of value is studied, it is largely associated with the process of choosing the best amongst the alternatives on the basis of goodness or worthiness. In modern business, which is characterized with intensified competition, firms strive to deliver the best value to their stakeholders, which comprise customers, shareholders, publics, and even employees. In the present day market led economy, the performance of both individuals as well as the corporate is measured in terms of the material wealth that they acquire as compensation or profits. In their pursuit for the same, there are situations when the professionals ignore the larger interest of the society for their own personal gains. So, there is a need to study and imbibe values in management education. Value has been studied from different perspectives and each of them has assigned it a different meaning. Let's talk about the importance of human values. As we know, the present age is the age of knowledge, where every section of the society is becoming more and more aware of its rights, responsibilities, and the implication of others' actions on them. Gone are the days of colonialism when business could do anything to increase its profits. Society had no say in corporate affairs. The socio-legal system of those times did little to protect the rights of the stakeholders. The newly proposed principles of free economy were interpreted as being free of all the social obligations. As early as 1926, it was argued that the concept of limited liability of business ultimately translated to limited responsibility. It was in the middle of 20th century that the need for socially responsible and ethical behavior of the corporate was being talked about. There was an increasing realization that business owes a lot to the society and the managers must be ethical in their behavior. They must abide by certain values while taking decisions that influence others. The organizations viewed as broad and boundaryless entities with extended suppliers and customers, these extended participants of organizations, connoted as stakeholders, demand a reasonable share of value generated as a result of business operations, thus forcing the organizations to increased accountability towards them. In the competitive environment, organizations that deliver higher value to the stakeholders are likely to achieve higher competitiveness. Hence, value delivery has assumed a centric position and has become the sole objective of the strategies aimed at achieving sustained competitiveness.
Now, let's talk about value perspective in marketing. The philosophical framework defining value as the study of goodness or worthiness guides the concept of value when extrapolated to business applications. Various authors present their viewpoints on value and the related concepts in business application and are also stated in further slides. Kotler defines customer delivered value as the difference between total customer value and total customer cost. Now, the total customer value is the bundle of benefits the customers expect from a given product or service. It is a result of the value generated from various sources such as the image value, the personnel value, and the services value and product value, where total customer cost is the bundle of costs customer expect to incur in evaluating, obtaining, using, and disposing of the product or service. In addition to the monetary cost, total customer cost also includes the buyer's time, energy, and psychic cost. The customer evaluates these costs with monetary cost to decide upon the total customer cost.
So now we are going to discuss the value perspective in management. The philosophical framework defining value as the study of goodness or worthiness guides the concept of value when extrapolated to management and decision making. The implications of ethical decision making are well understood. Owing to diversity of situations and differences in the perception on values, there can be differences in the normative behavior as well. Adherence or non-adherence to values can have both positive as well as negative implications. In our next discussion, both these implications are discussed. So first we will discuss the negative implications of unethical decision making. Every action has both benefits as well as costs, and the same is true for ethical decision making as well. The major reasons to improve ethical decision making, both positive and negative, can be stated like this. It includes cost of unethical conduct, lack of awareness on ethical role, widespread erosion of integrity, exposure to unethical risk, global corruption, and threat to organizational reputation.
So let's discuss the first negative implication of unethical decision making, that is, the cost of unethical conduct. The most popular example of unethical behavior that can be cited is the reaction of the soft drink manufacturers Coke and Pepsi over the reports of the presence of pesticides in their products. The two cola majors did nothing to restore the customer confidence but acted in an opportunistic manner and tried to confuse the consumers by way of increased marketing campaign. The result was the erosion of consumer confidence and a steep fall of sales in India. Worldwide, the brand suffered a very negative effect and their stock prices fell by over 10% within a few weeks. Similarly, Enron had to shut down its operations because of the unethical conduct of its managers. Arthur Andersen lost their business because of loss of credibility. Carvey Consultants, India Bulls, Motilal Oswal, and many more, they had a tough time in restoring the investor confidence after the reports on the scam on opening multiple demat accounts. The textile mills in Ahmedabad had to be closed down because the management did not care to protect the interest of the employees. So these are some of the examples where the reputation of the firms suffered very badly because the managers acted in haste to prove their smart capability. They did not care to study the implications of such behavior. The result was a huge loss, both tangible and intangible. While the tangible loss was in terms of loss of earnings, the intangible loss occurs in terms of loss of confidence of the stakeholders. There is a loss of productivity, loss of morale, conflicts, distrust, etc. Therefore, the performance of an organization suffers very badly. It needs a lot of investment and hard work to restore the organizations back to their original positions. Therefore, it is much more economically prudent to act in an ethical manner. The second implication is the lack of awareness on ethical role. The managers perform a variety of roles which can lead to unethical conduct, knowingly as well as unknowingly. The managers can perform certain actions against the firm itself which lead to the managerial role failure. This happens when the personal interest of the managers takes supremacy over their professional conduct. They may perform wrong performance appraisal to benefit a personal friend at the cost of organizational interest. There can be situations when managers can perpetuate legal but harmful environment practices. Such a role is termed as managerial role overexertion. For example, taking the benefit of loopholes of law, the cola majors are not accepting the presence of pesticides in their products. This is an unethical conduct. Similarly, the fund managers of UTI made unauthorized investments in high-risk securities, putting investors at loss. Such actions, which might seem to be in line with prevalent practices, can lead to undesirable consequences. Therefore, it is very important that the managers need to be aware about the ethical dimensions of their decisions. The third implication is widespread erosion of integrity. The managers who intend to improve their ethical performance need to attend to the erosion on integrity and manage ethical risk as it pertains to individuals, groups, and organizations. There are great tempting situations which can lead to unethical behavior. People can find several reasons to compromise on integrity related issues, as the rewards of such an act can be direct and immediate while the disadvantages might seem distant and overt. Possibly, it is this behavior that is making ethical behavior less common. It is important to note that the loss of integrity can be both intentional as well as unintentional. Intentional loss of integrity can occur when a manager compromises on his conduct for selfish gains. However, there can be situations of culpable ignorance where it is expected that the manager could have or should have known the better course of action. Ethical actions by way of undated integrity is not to be performed only by a God-fearing manager, but even by the one who intends to lead his corporate to excellence. Next implication is exposure to unethical risk. Ethical risk is the exposure to the possibility of loss of integrity or the presence of harmful dangers. Although the individuals may take private ethical risk as managers, they take public risk that may impose burden on others. Others can suffer several costs of harm, as is being suffered by those who were exposed during the Bhopal gas tragedy. People can also suffer because of the cost that they have to incur to avoid loss. For example, they might have to be secure of the pollution, health hazards, etc., and might have to pay for medical insurance or equipment to safeguard them. The process of maintaining integrity and offsetting ethical risk entails a lot of moral alignment of words and actions on the managers. So they need to understand and analyze situations and repercussions on the stakeholders and then decide upon the boundaries of moral and ethical conduct. Next implication is global corruption. Corruption is more widespread than what seems. There are several compromises on value that the managers make while dealing with corruption. Rather, most managers encourage corruption because it is the easiest way of getting the things done. Several multinationals are under question because of their approach towards corruption. In many countries, there are scams and reports of underhand dealings between government and business, leading to protest and even change of governments. There are several businesses where the risk of corruption is inherent. However, the managers must find ways to halt such a trend, as this would lead to loss of their reputation.
The general public image comes under scanner as it had happened in case of Reliance SEZ in Haryana and many other states. Ludhiana city centre case, Kargil case, many such mega projects where the nexus between the business and those in power seemed more than obvious. Ethical managers would always devise means to come avoid such situations and come out of such allegations. The multinational companies have a greater responsibility as they operate in several underdeveloped countries where unscrupulous government officials can ask for benefits. The gains from such acts can be petty, but the loss of reputation and consumer confidence can be immeasurable. The next negative implication is threat to organizational reputation. As we stated earlier, the biggest loss of unethical behavior is the loss of reputation, which is too difficult to be built. There is a general feeling of distrust among the stakeholders of the organization. This can be detrimental to the organizational performance. Therefore, the managers must not do anything to harm the hard earned corporate reputation by engaging in any kind of unethical behavior. Now, let's discuss the positive implications of ethical decision making. By following ethics in the conduct, the managers can reap several benefits, which can be increased profitability, desirable organizational order, greater customer confidence, sound community relations, participative management, and better competitiveness. Now let's discuss these positive implications one by one.
So let's talk the first positive implication of ethical decision making, that is increased profitability. Ethical decision making invariably involves lesser problems for the managers, which can be translated in terms of lesser cost of unethical behavior, better productivity of managers and employees, lesser conflicts between the stakeholders, and hence better profitability. The organizations which behave responsibly leads to better payoff. Even research has shown that the organizations that are sensitive towards their environment show better profitability as well. They outperform the polluters in over 80% of these situations. So, ethical decision making is an indicator of superior management practices and hence better financial performance as well. The second implication is desirable organizational order. The ethical decision making indicates the presence of proper management systems, which ensures systematic working of the organizations. Such organizations have better employee welfare programs, fair performance evaluation, and an environment of trust. Therefore, the organization is much more orderly and a friendly environment to work. For example, Tata Group has very well developed systems that ensure employee welfare. There are very few instances of strike and conflict, so employees feel motivated and give their best. The next implication is greater customer confidence. Although there is a lack of conclusive evidence that the customers purchase the products if a company is more ethically managed, but extrapolating the argument that ethical behavior leads to better goodwill for an organization, The customers are expected to exhibit a favorable behavior towards the products of ethically managed organizations. Another argument that supports this is the success of social marketing programs. Hindustan Lever Limited came up with an advertising campaign in which it promoted its brand Ariel on the punchline that it saved 2 buckets of water per wash. This appeal clicked well among the customers, and Ariel is a big success. Similarly, Maruti's campaign on safe driving is also well taken by the customers. The customers get a feeling of reassurance and like to make relations with such organizations. However, it may be added that the customers are not likely to compromise on product quality for being ethically driven. So, ethical management has to be an added quality of management and not a substitute for offering good quality of products and services. The next implication is sound community relations. There are many organizations that have developed very sound community relations, which helps them to tide over several problems by itself. Sound public relations do not develop on their own. They need a lot of investment of time and effort and a sincere goodwill. Only then do the members of the public trust it. For example, in stock market, people have developed a lot of confidence in Reliance group of companies. The result is that their products are a big hit in the market. Even in the difficult times, people remain with the organization and help it to come out of the crisis. Better community relations foster better employee productivity, better loyalty of customers, lesser conflict with the local groups, and a more harmonious working. Next implication is participative management. Participation of employees in the management of an organization help in securing a greater understanding of its mission and a better compliance of the rules and regulations. Once the employees are taken in confidence at the stage of formulating the objectives, they give in their best in the implementation of the plans as well. Participation is a tested method of conflict resolution and establishing better coordination among the various levels of the employees. Such a practice is more important in bigger multinational organizations as the employees are from diverse socio-cultural background and may not understand a firm's style of working. If they are a part and parcel of the management of the firm, so they are better equipped to give in their best in its working. So these facts have been tested by the research as well, where it has been found that organizations with participative management grow 6 to 11 times faster than its competitors if it combines employee ownership with the participatory management style. Several companies are also offering employee stock option programs, which are known as ESOPs, which help in long-term commitment of the employees.
The next positive implication is better competitiveness. Competitive advantage is a function of several variables, and ethical practices is one of them. Organizations with better management practice, fewer conflicts, loyal customers, better community relations have a much smoother passage to success than the ones which do not have such qualities. In the competitive times, firms have scarce resources and they cannot afford to waste them on resolving conflicts or such activities that can be prevented. They would prefer to invest their resources in brand building or improving their infrastructure. Therefore, ethical behavior can lead to such intangible gains which can improve the corporate performance in the marketplace. Now, the relationship between management theories and value framework. The value framework has been constructed differently in different management theories. For a manager, exhibiting ethical integrity involves achieving good consequences or ends. The outcome-oriented theories emphasized in teleological ethics. By adhering to standards of right conduct, The duty-oriented theories as emphasized in deontological ethics, which habitually being motivated by proper intentions and developing virtuous character traits. The character-oriented theories as emphasized in virtue ethics. In an ethically supportive holistic context, the system-oriented theories are emphasized in system development ethics. In the Western thought, the competing values framework and the ethics theory can be understood by comparing four management theories and the corresponding ethics theories. Like the relational goals theory of management can be compared with teleological theory of ethics. The internal process theory can be compared with deontological ethics theories. Human relation theory can be compared with virtue ethics theories, while the open systems theory can be compared with system development ethics theories. So let's talk about the first theory, which is the relational goals theory. This theory was introduced by Frederick Taylor in the beginning of 20th century. This theory upholds that the prime responsibility of the directors of the organization is to set the goals, take initiative, undertake production, and enhance the productivity of the organization. The output can be maximized by emphasizing goal clarification, rational analysis, and taking the actions. This theory believes in exercising strict control measures in the organization. However, this theory believes the organization as an open system which interacts with the external environment as well. The two main participants of the organization's functioning are the director and the producer. Rational goal, that is the lower management in an organization, use results as the exclusive performance standard and endorse the outcome-oriented ethical values over other ethical values. Rational goal managers have strong role competence in directing and producing and subscribe to outcome-oriented ethical values in their daily practice. The internal process theory. This theory was proposed by Max Weber and Henry Fayol in the first quarter of 20th century. This theory stresses upon the monitor and coordinator role of the managers. The managers are entrusted upon with the prime job of information management, documentation control, efficient processing, and consolidated continuity by emphasizing upon process measurement, smooth functioning of organizational operations, and structural order. This theory is inwardly directed and stresses upon the need for strict control upon the employees. The internal process managers exhibit a strong role competence in monitoring and coordinating. Therefore, they implicitly subscribe to duty-oriented ethical values in their daily practice. They believe in rules and regulations and strongly believe that the right act is the one in which the rules and regulations are strictly complied with. For them, the ends are not the sole deciders of the rightness of an act, but how an act has been done. That is, whether it is done by abiding by the rules or otherwise. The next theory is the human relations theory. This theory gained acceptance in the second quarter of the 20th century after Hawthorne studies conducted by Elton Mayo. This theory stressed upon the human aspect of an organization and believed that a manager must play the role of a facilitator and a mentor. He must foster openness, participation, team building, and commitment by emphasizing upon involvement, resolution of human conflicts, and by building consensus among those working in the organizations. This theory believed that an organization is an open system and is influenced by the external world. The components of an organization, particularly the human resources, get the inputs and give the same to the external environment. Therefore, the managers must not suppress such an exchange but must facilitate it and use to the advantage of the organization. The human relations managers have strong role competence in facilitating and monitoring. They believe in the virtues oriented ethical value in daily practice. Such managers focus on the right stuff in the persons and use virtuous character as an exclusive performance standard. Once again, the character seems to assume supremacy over the ends. The next theory is the open systems theory. This theory was advocated by Paul Lawrence and J. Lorish in the third quarter of the 20th century. The manager acquired the role of being an innovator and a broker to establish coordination and harmony between various components, both external as well as internal, of an organization. A manager is supposed to cultivate organizational learning capabilities and develop the power to compete by using creative means. He needs to exhibit the skills of being politically adaptive, negotiation, acquisition of external resources, etc. He is also required to scan the external environment, lead systems change in a creative manner, negotiate contractual agreements, and establish networking between various components of the organization. The open systems managers excel in innovation and brokering for the resources. They uphold systems oriented ethical values in daily practice. These managers like to act as catalysts for change and strive towards a continuous process improvement. They show linking towards systems oriented ethical values over other ethical values.
So students, let us now summarize what we have learnt in this module. Values are the guidelines for the human behavior and are more important in the organizations, where the actions of the managers have their ramifications on large number of people. The negative implications of unethical behavior include high cost of unethical conduct. There can be lack of awareness on ethical role and widespread erosion of integrity. The organizations are also confronted with high exposure to unethical risk and have to deal with global corruption, which can lead to threat to their organizational reputation. Within these conflicting situations, there is a need to have a sound strategy for having ethical behavior. The benefits of ethical behavior include increased profitability, desirable organizational order, and greater customer confidence. So, ethical organizations develop sound community relations and they also follow participative management and have better competitiveness in the market. Thank you.